beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and without him not one thing came into being. What has come into being in him was life, and the life was the light of all people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. But to all who received him, who believed in his name, he gave power to become children of God. Alone in my dark bedroom, thoughts of Michael Jackson's Thriller haunted me, keeping me from sleep. I found myself obsessively dwelling on the eerie graveyard near our Oregon home where we chopped firewood. The idea of resurrection, twisted into something dark and menacing, filled my mind and kept me awake. It was my imagination that was my undoing, or so it seemed. Our little house in Monmouth, Oregon had a large backyard complete with a vegetable garden and apple trees. The large apple tree in the very back provided the edges of mystery for me. Beyond that lie nameless neighbors, strangers, and people unlike my family. We were a ministry family. My dad, the on-campus director of InterVarsity Christian Fellowship. My memories are filled with dorm rooms, Bible studies in student commons, and retreats to the Oregon coast, where the cold, violent, and monstrous Pacific Ocean further enlarged my already vivid imagination. My imagination conjured up frightful images of what might hide in the retreat center's pump house, evoking a sense of dread, yet in stark contrast, I experienced deep emotional resonance with the peacefulness of the goldfish pond, the tactile experience of navigating driftwood on the beach path, and the unique aroma of old men playing basketball in the gym. These varied sensations triggered a complex tapestry of feelings, deeply felt, yet hard to fully articulate. The world of my childhood was alive with emotional meaning. An early reader, my intuition and imagination were enlarged by C.S. Lewis and Narnia, while my thoughts were rationalized by Encyclopedia Brown and the Hardy Boys. A major move at age 9 stole away the beauty of that early world. It was a move from one lovely small town in Oregon to a dismal small town. Whereas the college community of the former suffused the town with a sense of hope or possibility, this smaller and dying town was gasping for economic breath after environmental regulations stripped away much of its historic economy. The mills were silent, the vast timber lots empty, and my dad's little church filled with sad men who had little and whose families were fearful of the anger that sadness evokes. Ironically, one of them was named Happy. Upon getting saved in the 1970s, Dale renamed himself to Happy because Jesus brought him from death to life. Happy stood as an ironic figure against the backdrop of that sad town. In that town, the magic of the world was stolen away by grim reality. I struggled to make friends, was bullied, and so my imagination would be filled from time to time with me developing some sort of superpower that would be able to vanquish the foes of the playground, the classroom, or the gym. Anger dominated my experience. Only worsened by an older boy's sexual abuse of me, I emerged into my teenage years ready to prove my worth through the ubiquitously understood language of this small town, athletics. I had just enough skill and natural ability and verve to carve out a decent athletic existence in that small town. As my Letterman jacket adorned with medals clanged down the school halls, my emotions regulated. I achieved success. The small town now embraced me. At some point, the ability of athletic success to satisfy the deeper longing for the soul reaches its limit. I had enough success to merit college scouts' attention, but a competing desire was emerging within me, a call to something deeper, a call to Jesus, a call to service, a call to ministry. During my late teenage years, my identity shifted away from sports achievements. Instead, my sense of worth became tied to how faithfully I followed Jesus and pursued my studies at a Bible college in Southern California. among the vast pads of concrete beyond imagination and a LA culture steeped in aspirations for materialistic, image-driven identities, my deep need for God and my shallow actual faith were shown for what they were. I struggled to live up to the moral expectations put upon us, struggled to get decent grades, and certainly struggled to accept the status quo of a well-meaning but ultimately judgmental and performative Bible college environment. Of course, I couldn't see what it was that caused me never to locate myself in the center of the institution's life and ethos. Rather, I simply felt on the outside looking in. It seemed as though I was the problem, that I was the square peg and the Bible college status quo the round hole. My budding romance with Danya, now my wife, brought to the fore the anger and wounding of a childhood split apart by a move that flung me out of a world of enchantment and into the bleak world of hopelessness. I unpacked my hurts and rejections that drove me to perform athletically and to be burdened by a continual need for approval. However, degree in hand, but being less certain about ministry than ever, my wife and I and our baby girl drove back to Oregon, where we would begin the next 21 years of our lives. I served as a staff pastor for 7.5 years, and then I was the lead pastor of 2 different Foursquare churches, the denomination I am a part of. The magic of the world began to emerge once again in those years. My faith and theology grew more nuanced than my denominational foundation. Jesus became not just a means to forgiveness, but an archetype human through whom we could discern the lies of the industrialized and mechanized world. Jesus dominated my heart and my mind. Jesus became my way, my truth, and my life. Jesus introduced me to John Howard Yoder and Stanley Hauerwas and N.T. Wright and Walter Brueggemann and Marv Verdon and Eugene Peterson and Jacques Ellul. These gifted minds broadened my imagination for what the kingdom of Jesus was. It was not and is not a far-off place, but it is the re-enchanted now. Therapists and spiritual directors and pastors opened the door to my vast interior life, wherein I discovered an endless terrain where Jesus is, inviting me to sit with him on the shores of my own soul. From this great love of Jesus, love of his world, and suspicion of beloved empires like America, our ministry reached the right and the left of the political spectrum. Our emphasis was humanizing and earthy, but also replete with a steadfast devotion to the God who comes from the outside with a word of hope and possibility. The demands of ministry, family, and life forced me to be a contemplative. My heart was filled with hope as I practiced silence, as I walked instead of drove, and as I spent time in the forested areas of places like Mount David, Spencer's Butte, Croissant Creek, and Silver Falls. I would also return to that great Pacific Ocean and again be confronted by how small I was, but also how seen I am. He loves us. Oh, how he loves us. In all of it, I found Jesus to be worthy of whatever I could give him, whether that be my sin, my desire to finally be someone, or even to give him my position.
I'll be there. I say, how long until you come? This water's deep, the waves are crashing over me. How long till you come? The wind is picking up, the skies are dark and black. The anchor won't hold, Lord. Take me back, but you say.
In 2023, after 12 years of being a lead pastor, my family heard God's surprising call and moved across the United States. While driving through the cornfields of Nebraska and Iowa, the cityscapes of St. Louis, and the humdrum of Indiana and Ohio, we approached western Pennsylvania. The mountains of Appalachia gave way to the rolling hills of apple farms, and as we passed from common ground into hallowed ground, I realized that no longer do I fear the dead rising, But among the memorials and gravestones of Gettysburg, I anticipate a renewed heavens and earth, one that is re-enchanted, reanimated, redone. Now, I understand that the fears of my childhood were just a natural response to encountering the holy wood of the holy world created by a holy God. Being united with Christ, I've been welcomed as a child of God. This transformation inspires me to embrace and absorb every trace of Him I encounter in people and places around me. It's in Christ that we find out who we are and what we are living for. Long before we first heard of Christ and got our hopes up, He had His eye on us. He had designs on us for glorious living, part of the overall purpose He is working out in everything and everyone. Jesus said, "You didn't choose me, I chose you. I appointed you to go and produce lasting fruit so that the Father will give you whatever you ask for using my name. And this is my command. Love each other."
Then the clouds break. I see the clouds break. I see the clouds break. I see you coming, and you say now.